Entitled mother and entitled dad expect me to pull a debit card from my butt and slam me in a survey. So a few years ago, I worked as a branch manager at a mid-sized regional retail bank. It was a small branch, so it was just me, a personal bank assistant manager, and 2 to 4 tellers. We had a college pretty close. It was not a D1 school or anything, but they had a football team, D3, which was popular locally and competitive in their division. It was big enough that every year we opened some new accounts for incoming students. One day, entitled mum, proud entitled dad, and their new arrival freshman son, FS, he doesn't really speak, walk into the branch and directly into my office. My branch probably looked like the headquarters of the bank, but it was just a regular bank in a big old school bank building that was rented. I stood up and greeted them. What I did, I looked into the lobby to see if it was suddenly super busy, and I didn't notice. The lobby was empty. They blew straight past the tellers and banker, whose office is customer-facing and inviting, straight to mine. I met eyes with the head teller, and she just shrugged. She later told me that everyone tried to greet them, but they were not having it. Entitled mother: "We need to open a new account for our son." Me: "Great. Our personal banker opens all of our new accounts and will help you set up everything you need while FS is here. 3 hours from them, at school. Let me introduce you." I always let her open new accounts so she could make her bonus. They ignore me and take a seat. The father: "FS is here to play football." Insert 10 minutes of talk about football and his role as the new freshman kicker at D3U. I politely engaged in the conversation. Entitled mother: "You're the branch manager. We'd prefer that you opened the accounts." Me: "Sure, no problem." They seemed to be a nice family, but definitely helicopter parents, and a little entitled, but not story-worthy. We talked a little football, good places to eat, and some general info about the area. I go over a checking account with the kid, and there isn't much to it. A simple student checking account with a debit card and online banking access. Things turn. Entitled mother: "He will need a debit card right away. He has 700 cash to start the account. We don't want him walking around with that money. Can we get one today?" I'm sorry, but we don't print new cards at the branch. But we do have a few expedited delivery options that can help. "But he needs a card now. We are also in a hurry. There are a lot of new student things we need to attend today." Maybe the dad should stop talking about football if you have somewhere to be, lady. Ever thought of that? Me: "The fastest way I can get a card here is to have it expedited to the branch in 2 days. There is a fee of $25, but I will waive it. I can also have the card delivered to our branch closest to campus, so FS can walk over and grab it, which is only a 5-minute walk. We can deposit most of his money into the account now, and he can keep some cash on him for incidental expenses until the card arrives. He can activate the card at the branch ATM. It's super easy. I felt like it was pretty above and beyond the call of duty to offer a good solution, The dad says, "He's here to play football. He can't be worrying about this." The entire time, I am of course wondering why didn't they set the account up at their home branch so he could have his debit card when he arrived. However, even with their massive failure in planning, I feel like I deliver the best possible customer service. They get visibly upset. The dad starts to get heated, mumbling under his breath that my bank sucks. Entitled mother: "I need a card here first thing tomorrow." I keep my composure. I reiterate as nicely as I possibly can that it isn't possible. The dad says, "There has to be a way. I had a bank to do it before." He practically has a vein popping in his forehead. I wanted to say, "Dude, I don't know where the frick the bank even makes this crap. I can't drive to the debit card plant and pick one up, and I'm not a genie. It's gonna be 2 days. But I gave the standard canned response when someone is asking for the impossible. I wanted them to fuck out of my branch at this point. I offered to go meet their frickin' kid at the time of their choosing with his debit card. I actually meet him with the card at an ATM by his dorm where I show him how to activate it and use it. Nice, kid. I hear from his mum at least 3 more times asking questions about the account, and because she fricked up the simple task of setting up online banking, she emails me about it several times as well. I had more contact helping her with the account than any other student account in history. She gets a survey online at random. Surveys were important to me. Anything less than 5 out of 5 may as well be a 0 in the eyes of many at the bank whose only job was looking at surveys. Part of my bonus was tied to the score, and at a perfect 5.0, I led the region. 1 out of 5. A fudging 1, and a lengthy complaint about debit cards, online banking, and the branch manager's unwillingness to help. It killed my perfect average with surveys, which no one else had out of 15 branches for the quarter. And I had to write a fudging plan action about it because if you got a 1, it was discussed with some lame coach type person. I know there wasn't much payoff to this story, but that one still bothers me. She just had to deal with the manager. Our next story was posted by user Grenadiasks, titled, "Entitled Mother and Entitled Spoiled Kid Try Using My Account. I Ban Him." Quick info. I go to this gaming cafe to play games. Actually, only CSGO. The cafe uses GG Leap. It costs 80 cents, roughly, for an hour. I usually dump a lot of money at once and buy crap loads of hours so that I don't need to worry about it later. Our cast are me, Entitled Mother, and Entitled Spoiled Kid. So this happened yesterday, the 5th of the 12th, 2019. It was a fairly quiet day. 3 other people, excluding me and the manager. I got bored, so I was chit-chatting with him and decided to grab something to eat together. We return almost 15 minutes later, and I see a kid playing where I was seated, and I didn't log out, and a lady watching him play. Funny enough, I had never seen him before. I'm a regular, by the way, and I'm like, okay, cool, I said to myself, and went to talk to him. Me. Hey, buddy, I was sitting here before. Didn't you see that someone else was already logged in? Entitled Spoiled Kid says, "Buzz off, fat ass, let me play Fortnite." Entitled Mother, "Yeah, jerk, let him play, don't disturb him." Cool, yeah, no doubt. It didn't mind, cause that was the best PC in the cafe. Not in terms of performance, the fan is right above the person sitting on it. The windows, when opened, give fresh air and an amazing view. So I went to one of the other 15 remaining PCs. There are a total 20, excluding the one the manager uses. I log in, and boom, it displays that this login is being used on another PC. I already know who's using it, but still go to the manager and ask who's using my login. He confirms my suspicions. It's the entitled kid. So I tell him all that happened. He's ticked and asks me if I want him to intervene. I say no and go up to the entitled kid. "Hey bro, are you using my GG Leap login?" "Hey fat ass, what did I tell you about not disturbing me? Also, what if I was using your login? Who cares?" Entitled Mother, "Go freak off, you expletive, let my son play," and proceeds to shove me. Nice! So I go again to the manager's PC. By the way, he shouts, "Thanks for the 48 hours. I had put in 48 hours. The cafe uses GG Leap, so the main PC, the manager's PC, can control everything. I tell him my plan, and also call up the owner. We are really good friends, and tell him everything. He allows me to go ahead. I turn on the remote control option while he's playing Fortnite. He is ticked. He's throwing grenades at himself. I am, but he doesn't know. Shooting random places and crap. He is ticked. The thing is, he doesn't know what's happening. He's confused as all hell. Me, the manager, and the owner, he's on video call, are crying of laughter. All the fun. I decide that it's enough and finally put an aimbot file into the PC and run it. He doesn't realize as he's in the washroom. He plays a game and boom, banned. He gets ticked, and I mean it. He was wailing. His mum had to calm him down. Nobody knew, except me, the manager, the owner, and the entitled kid. He had to be kicked out because of the commotion that he was causing. While going out, I shouted, "Enjoy the ban!" His face showed it all. Edit 1. It was his Fortnite account which got banned. He was using my GG Leap account. Edit 2. Added the no doubt because a fellow Redditor was feeling uneasy. And our next story was posted by user Happy Little Puppy, titled, Entitled Parents says that their child should be allowed to break housing law. So, I'm on my mobile, please forgive format. I live in a group of townhouses. I own while most others rent. There has been an ongoing problem of children being extremely loud, committing vandalism, and playing ball games on common property. This is all breaking the housing laws that we have for our complex. I live with chronic migraines, and another person in the complex also has health issues. Despite all the entitled parents' involvement knowing this, they allowed their kids to start screaming at 6 a.m. It has gotten to the point where multiple homes have complained and the housing laws are going to be enforced. Before this, I feel like I should rattle off all the issues that have led to this point. Children playing at the top of their lungs in front of my window and in my front garden starting at 6:30 a.m. and ending at 8 p.m. Children breaking up the rocks in my front garden into shards and leaving them where they can harm people and animals. The same rocks and shards being thrown into my backyard. This is especially dangerous because my dog health dictates that my lawn is mowed regularly. Rocks can turn into projectiles when they meet mower blades. Things going missing from my backyard, then turning up a day or two later at my back door. One 10-year-old urinating in my front garden. Damage to the front of the property and surrounding trees. The children turning up and down the water pressure in my house. The tap is located in my front garden, despite tapping it up to stop that. I would like to say that if the children had been respectful, no one would have complained. But they did, and a letter went around dictating what laws were being broken and what ones are ongoing to be enforced in the future. One entitled parent approaches the other person living in my home today and says, "I'm not keeping my kid inside all holidays. We all need to figure out a time where they can bounce the ball and run around." They have a backyard and don't need to play on common property. They have all been told over and over again how hard it has been living with the constant noise. The other entitled parent blames depression and his sick partner not being able to handle the entitled kids inside. The entitled kids are old enough to know that sick people need peace and quiet. This is crazy. It's not my job to deal with someone else's kids, and I feel like they are being pushed on me. I want silence in my own home for more than the time the kids are at school. The temptation to fill my migraine diary with rude kids is unbearable. I will give an update when the other person in my home is contacted by a housing law agent. Our next story was posted by user Mr. Not Unhappy, titled, Entitled Auntie Would Rather I Die Than Refuse Her Cooking. Summary. I recently moved back to the south because I hated wet, cold, miserable winters up north. However, I now realize there was one major drawback to moving back home. I should never have moved within driving distance to the majority of my family, and now my entitled aunt thinks I should die rather than hurt her feelings. Our cast are me, entitled attention whore aunt, and my mother. Another year, another disappointing Thanksgiving. Of course, the usual disappointments were all there. A sister who thinks that being a single mum makes her a frickin' saint, instead of just someone that didn't remember to use birth control. Critical, alcoholic cousins who can't wait to point out everything wrong with someone else's life, but don't dare look at their own lives as they finish their 5th glass of wine in less than an hour, with the turkey still having 2 hours to go. The parental units who seem desperate to reclaim their lost youth by pretending they still have authority over their children in their 30s and 40s. Drunk uncles, screaming babies, and way too much drama. And then, of course, there is the biggest disappointment of all. My demanding, attention tramp of an aunt and her fudging sweet potatoes. Those god-awful, too sweet, frickin' make my teeth hurt just thinking about them crappy sweet potatoes. Her pride and joy side dish, that she insists on bringing to every Thanksgiving instead of burying it with shame in the backyard with the rest of the fertilizer where it belongs. The dish she insists on forcing each one of us to consume. I could be deathly allergic to those frickers, and she would still throw a fit if I refused to eat it. I even hate calling them sweet potatoes. I feel like the name insults real potatoes everywhere. Why wouldn't my aunt have packed a dish of real potatoes instead? It's not like she didn't have plenty of potato dishes to choose from. Real potatoes are wondrous things that can be prepared stewed, scalloped, fried, twice baked, and so many other delicious ways. Real potatoes are simply wonderful. Real potatoes are also the only way to make a proper batch of fries. Fries, French fries, crispy taters, chips, freedom fries. Although that last one is a bit absurd, even for me. Whatever you want to call them, fries are delicious. Savory, salty, and a perfect complement to any dish of freshly killed and grilled meat. I absolutely agree. I love fries myself. Best dish. If my aunt made fries and they were cold when the turkey was served, I would still gladly eat those frickers instead of her stomach-turning sweet potatoes. On the other hand, sweet potatoes are an abomination when fried. People who make fries out of sweet potatoes have clearly suffered a psychotic break of gargantuan proportions and are now trying to take everyone else down the rabbit hole to cuckoo land with them by attempting to trick us into thinking they're getting fries instead of fudging sweet potatoes. Like, I recently lost my oldest and dearest childhood friend to sweet potato fries. He has become a casualty of the devastation caused by sweet potatoes. Not only is he eating sweet potato fries, but to offset the sweetness, instead of ketchup, every God-fearing true blue American choice for fried dipping. He is dipping those frickers in mayonnaise. Mayonnaise? This is the United States, not the Netherlands. No offense to the Dutch people, but no. Just no. Look, I tried talking him back to sanity. I yelled at him. Sweet potatoes aren't for fries. They're for pie filling. Pie fudging filling! Unfortunately, I found him to be an unresponsive, broken shell of a man. He is lost in a twisted wonderland where up is down, hot is cold, and sweet potatoes are made into fries. But of course, the nastiest preparation for sweet potatoes, it was reserved for Thanksgiving. And somehow, my aunt has made it even worse. Whoever thought of candying sweet potatoes with brown sugar and maple syrup, and then topping that crap with marshmallows, is one seriously fricked up, escaped mental patient. And to then make it a staple side dish on a national holiday. Well, that's some devious Dr. Evil level plan to destroy America. So naturally, my attention-seeking aunt had decided years ago that this travesty would become her signature side dish to bring to Thanksgiving. That monstrosity of a side dish has tormented me for years. Not only is it there during Thanksgiving, but everyone eats it. We don't have a choice. As my aunt is the one who brings the sweet potatoes, along with my alcoholic cousins that she spawned, she insists everyone must have some of her famous side dish. We are then expected to fawn over her about how delicious they are, ask her what her secret is, blah blah blah. If anyone doesn't eat her candied marshmallow-covered turds and compliment her, she will harass them throughout the entire meal, and constantly tell us how insulted she feels until we give in. This year, I decided to tell her no and pass on the orange, sugary horror. Entitled Auntie says to me, "Have some of your famous sweet potatoes, OP." I'm sorry, Entitled Auntie, but I'm gonna try to cut out sugar. My doctor says I really need to lose weight. Well, it's the holidays, so those calories don't count. Yeah, they do. In fact, they count more, as we tend to overeat over the holidays and not exercise. Well, you should have told me in advance that you weren't going to have any, and I wouldn't have made as much. That is so inconsiderate of you. I am one person out of 25 here. The amount you made wouldn't have changed. You should still have some since you didn't tell me in advance. That's the polite thing to do. You're practically spitting in my face by refusing. I slaved away in the kitchen for hours to make them. I know for a fact she just pours them from a can, adds maple syrup and cinnamon, tops with marshmallows, and bakes for half an hour. I'm sorry, but I'm overweight as it is. I'm serious about trying to get into better shape. I'd like to be around for a while, mate. Why do you hate me so much, after all that I've done for you? I have no idea what she's done for me. I've only ever seen her during the holidays, and I still don't know why my doctor seems to care more about my health than my family. Entitled Auntie then turns to my mother and says, I can't believe you raised such a horrible child. I'm fudging 40. Tell him to have some or I'm never coming back to this house ever again. So my mum says, OP, you know how sensitive your aunt is? Just have some and tell her it's delicious so she shuts up. It seems that I am left with 3 options. Option A, have some and pretend Entitled Auntie did a good job instead of trying to fudging poison to me. In option B, refuse and hear about her whining non-stop about how I insulted her for an entire fudging year. Or option C, take the honorable way out by removing the carving knife from the turkey and committing seppuku right there in front of my loved ones. That's the best option. I'm still alive to write this, so you can guess the outcome. Once again, my aunt won this year. I caved into her demands to try some of her crime against food that she calls a side dish, while she smugly smiled. I pretended to enjoy eating her potential violation of the Geneva Convention, while constantly looking for my chance to go to the bathroom and attempt to quietly vomit that crap into the porcelain deity. I don't know about you, but option C looks better every fudging year. Thanks for listening. I needed to purge some of these feelings about the next holiday gathering, when my love for my family is measured by how much debt I'm willing to acquire by buying them presents they don't need. And if this post hasn't been more relatable than ever, I don't know what you guys do in your spare time. In all seriousness, you know what, I'm not even going to edit that one out. In all seriousness, I mean, that was a really well written post. That was probably one of my favorites. Anyway, on to the next story. Our next story is posted by user TimTravel77, titled, Entitled Mother Threatens to Burn Down School. I have been teaching for 22 years, so I have a lot of crazy stories. The one that stands out most is a mum who lost her mind over me giving her son a B instead of an A on a project that he turned in late. At the school I was working at during this time, it was required for teachers to assign a spring break assignment. We had just completed a full week of testing, and my class looked like they were needing a break. I decided that instead of doing the normal, read these chapters and write a report, that I would instead allow them to draw a picture of an invention that they thought was interesting or important, and write a paragraph about the inventor's life. I expressed that this assignment was going to be presented in front of the class by me, so they could watch their work for once, instead of having to present it. We all broke for the break, and everyone seemed really excited to have a lot of their break for free time. When we returned from break, I drew the names of the students from the order in which they'd be presented. The first student I called on said that he didn't have the work done, so I told him to bring it in the next day. The kids thought it was funny to watch me act out their presentations, and it was a great time. The next day, I go on to teach the presentations of the next group, with the kid who missed out the day before going first. His presentation was nice, and I explained to him after class that while it was a great project, I was marking him down a grade letter for turning it in late. Fast forward 2 days. I get a call from the office during my planning period that 2 parents were there to see me. I agreed to meet with them, and they came up to my class. The father looked like he had been dragged along, and the mother looked like she was hyping herself up to get crazy with me. Entitled Mother: I want to know why you were discriminating against my child. So, who's your child? Kid name. That's who the fuck my child is. Wait, have a seat. Let's figure out what the problem is. Her husband grabs a chair and pulls it closer to her. She's still hyped up, but he's trying to help her sit down. Frick you! Frick your people! Frick their people! Has your son let you know that his assignment was late and that I accepted it late because he's a good student? Frick that mess! I don't care about anything right now. It was pretty clear that I wasn't going to get anywhere. So I decided to leave the room and get another teacher to help me get the parent out of my class. We didn't have security back then, so I was on my own. No more than a second after I stepped out of the room, I heard a loud crash. I turned around to see she had thrown a glass paperweight through the window, shattering it. "I'm gonna call the police. You shouldn't be here when I get back." The entitled mother sprung to her feet and followed me, screaming at the top of her lungs. She was hopping up and down and clapping in my face, telling me she was gonna burn this whole motherfricker down today. The father just kept grabbing her by her coat and holding her far back enough that she couldn't make physical contact with me. She fell to the ground to slide out of her coat and was crawling towards me furiously at one point. It's a small town. The police could walk over faster than they could get into their car and drive here. Within minutes, they were pulling her to her feet trying to talk to her. She spit in the policeman's face and motioned like she was going to backhand her. He barely hip bumped her and she fell to the ground. She screamed at the top of her lungs that she was being attacked. Her husband looked defeated, holding her coat, shaking his head. She went to jail for creating a public disturbance and for gross misconduct with a peace officer. The rest of the school year, she wasn't allowed on the property. The next year, I was promoted with my class, so it meant I had all the same kids as the previous year. I saw her dropping him off all the time because the ban had been lifted. She would always grind her teeth and growl at me. I'd speed up walking because I didn't want her to see me laughing. Imagine a grown woman sitting in a car making loud growling noises. Hilarious. Our next story was posted by Phobia -- titled, "Entitled Kid Thinks He's Entitled to My Sister." So I think you all know who the cast is, so let me get on with the story. I worked at a summer camp, and my sister attended as a camper by guess Entitled Kid's age. On the very first day of camp, Entitled Kid declared his love for my sister, and he didn't even know her name. I'm pretty sure he had a bad home life, and that's what caused his behavior. He always hated doing activities without her, and he even tried to kiss her, and succeeded, but then it got weird. He literally slapped my sister's butt, and then he bit me and other counselors, and he even cut me with bloody safety scissors. And his mum/grandma didn't give two craps about what he did. He even jumped in the water at the pool and had to be saved by a freaking lifeguard. When he realized that my sister didn't like him, he pursued other girls as well. He was 5. Later on, we were at a farmer's market, and he was there in a freaking jumpy house, and he tracked down my sister and sat on her lap, and bit both of us. The dad was an awesome guy though. He told him to knock it off and stop being a creep, so that was great. And our last story was posted by user Butternut Board, titled, "Entitled Dad Walks Across the Aisle at Someone Else's Wedding right in front of the bride." So this is going to be a pretty short one. There's no dialogue or anything. Sorry if there's any formatting or grammar mistakes, I'm on mobile. The entitled parent in question is my dad, and even though he isn't usually this dumb, he can have his moments. Basically, I was at a wedding with my family last summer. It was a pretty small outdoors wedding, and everyone was seated when the ceremony began. I forgot the reason, but my dad came in late, right as the ceremony starts. There were 2 sections of seats in said wedding, one on the left side of the aisle and one on the right. Me and the rest of the family are sitting on the right side. My dad enters on the left side, sees where the rest of us are sitting on the right side, and proceeds to walk across the aisle as the music is playing and the bride is just starting to walk along the carpet to the front. Everyone just kind of froze but didn't say anything, and the bride kind of paused in her tracks for a second. A couple people gasped a little, but nothing too big. To make it worse, however, there were videographers at the front filming it all, so when this poor couple looks back at their wedding day in a couple of years, they'll see my dad walking across the aisle at the magical moment where the bride is supposed to come up to the front. I've probably never been more embarrassed in my life when he sat down beside us. When I confronted him about it, he had no idea he did anything wrong. I guess he just doesn't seem to know how weddings work or something. Anyway guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it for today. I'm sorry that I've not been doing too many uploads as of recently. I told you that I would. and sometimes life just gets in the way, but I know everyone understands that. As you guys saw, yes, I'm making preparations right now for my move to Belfast. It's going to be Dublin first, and then I don't know where life is going to take me after April, because I've got a World Championships that I'm competing in at the time there. So yeah, stay tuned for that one, and I hope you guys all have a good day. I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!